Okay, hey, we're back. What we did in the last tutorial was set up this basic squash and stretch automation with the expression editor, but we don't need this anymore, so we're going to get rid of that. Okay, so what we noticed was that the way that we've set this animation up is we can't actually make the ball roll as it's moving along. So that's a little unfortunate. So we're going to look at how to get that working. And to do that, we're going to set up a basic rig. So before I was working in my polygons tab, I'm going to come over here and click on curves and choose this amazing looking little circle here and just drag that out into the center. I'm actually going to go ahead and press spacebar to maximize my window that I'm working in. Now, the spacebar is actually a very handy key. You can just hit it and it will toggle between menus, so I can full screen my graph editor, come back to the other two views. By default, it will actually bring up front, top and side view for modeling, but this is the sort of setup that you want for animating. So I'm going to hit spacebar and bring us back to our normal view. Now, if you get this bit of a glitch up here, you can just scrub along and you'll be able to see your keys again. Okay, let's go ahead and make this rig. Again, we're going to keep things nice and tidy. We're going to put that at 0. You're going to come down to the inputs and change the radius to 2. And it's got 8 sections. Yeah, that'll do for this tutorial. And so we're going to come along and go edit and delete by type, history, because we don't need that anymore. Now, we actually want 2 controls here, so I'm going to go ahead and hit Control D. And what that's done is, by the looks of things, not a lot, but if you hit your R key and then scale in, you'll see that you've actually duplicated that. And so this is going to be the second part of our rig. And now that's at a nice size there. What we're going to do is bring that up 1 unit. So that is going to be where the center of the ball is when it's on the ground at origin. That's why we're keeping things clean before and setting everything to 1. So what I'm going to come along and do here is right click and go freeze, and I want to freeze the translate and the scale, so I may as well just go and freeze all. Okay, so we've got these 2 controls here which are all nicely set up. We're going to give them some names. So this is going to be the master control, and I use CTRL as something that I put at the end of each control that I make. So I'm going to go ahead, hit enter, and come along to the next control. And now this I'm going to call ball roll CTRL and hit enter. So we've got our 2 control objects here. They're in the right place. And what we're going to do is, so while we've got the ball roll control selected, we're going to shift select the master control and hit P, which parents. And so that means whenever I click on the master control, it's also going to select the roll control. And so this is creating a very basic structure for the rig hierarchy. And so if you scrub along, it's like, okay, great, well, the ball's already moving. We've already done all this work, and to be honest, I don't want to do it all again. So what you can do is click on the ball and say, okay, I want all of these keys that we've set up here. You go right click and hold down the right click, and then you go to copy. And then we come back over to the master control, and then on frame 1, right click and go paste, and we'll notice that the control now sits with the ball, which is great. It looks like the controls are now doing all the work, which they're actually not. So we've got to actually start plugging everything else in. We're going to have to go back to our scary expression editor now. So we'll go to Windows, Animation Editors, and Expression Editor. And there's our expression that we created earlier, but we now want instead of the ball to have this squash controls, we actually want to change it from ball to being the master CTRL. And so we're just going to go along and change anywhere that it's got ball to master CTRL. And one last time. And hit edit. So we've messed up somewhere along the way, which I have actually put in a capital M instead of a lowercase m, so it is case sensitive. Watch out for that. Get a convention and stick to it, which is saying a lot about my animating because I have just broken my convention. So we've got our new expression here. We're going to hit edit. And now in our master control, we've got the nice little purple things here, which if we scrub through, we'll see are working exactly the same as they were on the ball. And now the ball looks misshapen because it's no longer being driven in this way. But that's okay, because we're going to get rid of all these keys on the ball. So if you come up to the channel box and highlight all of these, right click, and then go to break connections. It will delete all the keys off the frame. And so if we go along to translate X and just zero it out, we've got the ball, it's back at origin, all the scale, it's just an ordinary ball. And the only thing that's got the animation is the controls. Now, we don't need the expression editor anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and close that. And now what I'm going to do is select the ball and select the shift select the rotate control and hit the P key. And that will mean that now the controls actually have an effect on the ball. So if I hit play, you'll see that the ball is actually moving, but it's got this terrible offset, which is not what we want at all. So if we rewind and click on our ball again, you'll notice that after parenting to these curves, it will actually change the position of the ball, because the 0, 0 for this object is in the center. So what will happen is if we just zero that out, the ball will go exactly to the place that we want it to be. So now if we click play, we've got exactly the same as what we've had before, except we've got a rig. And this time we can click on this control here, and if we hit S to create a key, and then drag right over to the end, and if we hit E to bring up our rotation tool and just rotate the ball a bit, I think we're going to -180, sounds like a good value. We'll put that in. And now you play it along and you'll see that the ball is bouncing and rotating, and because the rig is set up in the correct order, the rotations that you're getting don't actually warp the scale. So if you click on the ball, you'll be able to see it a little better in the way that it's rotating. And there we have a rather nice little bouncing ball. So what we can do is click on Show and then come up here to NURBS Curves and just untick that box, and it will just hide those controls and we can just see our ball. And there it is, bouncing along nicely. And that is how you create a bouncing ball.